Beacon Hill, known for its precious gas lamps and narrow cobbled streets, has long been the butt of Boston Brahmin jokes. So when the Beacon Hill Civic Association resisted plans for new handicapped curb ramps, many in the media couldn't resist taking a swipe, even though the criticism may be without merit. This week, the city of Boston started digging up the curbs on Beacon Hill. Residents of the historic neighborhood say they're all for handicapped accessible ramps, just not these.
The issue is really the materials that the ramps are made out of. We want them to be 100% ADA compliant, but there are other materials other than poured concrete and plastic.
But some advocates say access is more important than aesthetics.
People really have to determine, what's more important to them. Is access more important for all people, for everyone to have access to all parts of the city, or is it just the look of it?
While the Beacon Hill Civic Association has now filed suit accusing the city of strong-arming them, they've also hired a PR firm, since they've taken quite a drubbing over the matter. In one column alone, the Boston Globe's Kevin Cullen referred to residents as a shower of snobs, hi-hats, old ladies clutching their pearls, a bunch of elitists, and the wine and cheese set. Calling them the Beacon Hill gentry, a Boston Herald editorial also took aim. Meanwhile, the Globe's Joan Vanacchi may have hit the real nail on the head. The ramps are revenge, since Beacon Hill snubbed Mayor Marty Walsh on the ballot last fall. I have to say, in the scheme of things, it's not the big, but taking a beating in the press over this is wrong. They don't need 230 new, access ramps, and they certainly don't need ones with yellow plastic that's going to peel up the first snowstorm. This thing should have been worked out years ago, with a civil conversation between City Hall and the the Beacon Hill Civic Association and the Architectural Commission. Each party claims that the other one wasn't agreeing to this and that and this and that, but to make that much fun over it, this is wretched excess, and I do feel it's retribution to a point. You don't need 230 new, cutouts on the curbs. Why don't you just take the curbs away, make it street level, which some cities do, by the way. Mm-hmm. Just make it all one level.
Well, there's a few issues here. I mean, maybe it's overblown, but I haven't heard anybody disagree with the fundamental assertion that the alternative that the Beacon Hill residents are pushing is much more expensive than the alternative that the city is pushing. So that right there would sort of push this on the side of the city. Red bricks in general are terrible for wheelchairs, although I guess the brick sidewalks are going to stay in place. Yeah. The last I knew, having streets full of cars with parking and all of that was not historically accurate either, but nobody seems to be talking about bringing back horse and buggies. I'm not very sympathetic to the residents, even if they've been beaten up more than they should be.
I think for me, I'm right in the middle, but what gets me is that this has been going on so long. Yeah. So I don't understand why we couldn't have at least one ramp done the way they think it should be. So show the rest of us, look, here's the ramp we think, and this is what it should look like. And so now this is what we're talking about. That's one ramp. We could have done that over the years, and then, I got something to look at to say, maybe you have a point. I don't want to disturb the historic nature. That's one of the things that Boston Stock and Trade. But now it just looks a little bit like they're just whining and don't want to do anything. And that's just not a good look. That's where I am on that. I don't know what else to say.
No, I come down in the same way. I could argue there's 51-49 and so over that. I do think that you don't want to be known as the neighborhood that was completely insensitive to people with disabilities. I mean, access that's just part of that's who we are today as a people in the 21st century. We need to accommodate that. But you're right. There has to be some sense that Beacon Hill is a historic area, not just the residents. It's tourists. People come from all over the world to walk those streets.
They're not cutting the curbs out of the State House.
That's right, and that does matter. You wouldn't do that to the U.S. Capitol, too. You find ways to try to find a balance, and this could have been done better. I thought Kevin Collins' column was just ridiculously provocative at the expense, and that's what I guess he wanted to do. He wanted to be the Southie kind of a guy, but there's middle ground, and people should use their heads here. That ought to be grown-ups.
Oh, I can't wait for what John has to say.
Look, I'm a Cullen fan. I thought whine, W-H-I-N-E, and cheese set was pretty good line. I'm hoping to steal that at some future date. And I did actually do this story for Channel 4. I assume you found it fair, Emily, because you didn't throw it in your piece there and roast me. And so I hear both sides of the argument. You know, Beacon Hill does sort of bring some of this kind of thing on itself, because they are unbelievably fussy about 1,000,001 details. I mean, you can't, you know, hang out a flag without all sorts of hell raining down on you. But I have spoken with perfectly reasonable, non-filthy rich residents of Beacon Hill who are quite upset about this and feel they're being knuckled by the new mayor. It is interesting, and one detail that's gone unnoticed by most of the media, as far as I can tell, is this is yet another signal of a change from the Walsh to the Menino era. Menino was a huge historic preservationist, and he never brought the hammer down on Beacon Hill, even though, as you say, it's been dragging on for years. Mayor Walsh has no such compunction.
Exactly.